Hello everyone and welcome to another video here on the Cycling Dane, and today we're looking through the UCI World Tour rankings for the riders. And yes, I know the Tour of France is not in fact finished and that's the last race on the calendar, but there are none of the top 15 riders in that classification, so it won't have any change on the last standings. Of course, the UCI World Tour ranking is a way to classify who has been the best riders over the course of the year, and there are plenty of big races that have huge points. Before we go into the top 10, just some honorable mentions as well. The new boy of Visma Lease bike, Matteo Jorgensen, who did very well to win Paris-Nice and a number of other things, including an 8th place finish at the Tour de France, is not inside the top 10, finishing in 12th place. And similarly, Mads Pedersen also just missing out, who had an incredible start to the year, winning plenty of races and even finishing 3rd in Paris-Roubaix. If you haven't already, why not stay up to date with all the videos that we do by hitting that subscribe button. But anyways, without further ado, first right on the list is Wout van Aert. Wout van Aert's year has not been the perfect one for him at all. There's been a number of crashes for him, including in Dwars-door-Vlaanderen, the Olympics, but he still amounted to gain a number of wins. In the beginning of the year at the Vuelta al Garve, he managed to take a sprint win on stage 3 and looked very strong in the race, finishing 7th overall. He then finished 3rd in Omloop Het Nieuwsblad, being a very good teammate as his teammate Jan Tratnik took the win, and he followed that up next day by winning Kuurne-Brussels-Kuurne and finished 3rd in Idre. Then he had the disastrous Dwars-door-Vlaanderen crash that took him out of not only the Run van Vlaanderen but also Paris-Roubaix, and he returned to the Tour of Norway, where he had a bit of success but no victories, and thereafter he went to the Tour de France, where again another year with no victories but came very close on stage 12 and stage 13. At the Olympics it wasn't quite his way as well. He did manage to get a 3rd place in the time trial, and at the road race he was very much on marking duties as his teammate Remco Evenepoel took the victory. But at the Vuelta a España, his first Vuelta of his career, he managed to, in the first 3 stages, to finish 3rd, 2nd and win stage 3 in Castelo Branco before finishing 2nd on stage 5, and then yet again winning stage 7 and winning stage 10, and was very much in the driving seat in the points classification, but unfortunately crashed out of the Vuelta a España, and that ended his run of the race. Given the amount of crashes he's had, he's certainly not had a bad year. Next on the list is friend of the channel Biniam Girmay, who has had best season of his career so far. In 2024 he began the year in Australia for better preparation. He was in the mix in Tour Down Under, finishing 3rd on stage 1, even 2nd on stage 4, but it was after the race that he took his first win of the season, and that was the Surf Coast Classic. Then in Tirreno Adriatico the win didn't come, but he was in contention and served as a preparation for the Classics. In the Classics the best result was 7th, and the team changed his schedule as well, so he would line up for the Giro d'Italia once again. In the Giro he returned for the first time since 2022. He was in the mix on stage 3, however bad luck on stage 4 as he crashed twice on the stage and unfortunately had to withdraw. Thereafter his focus shifted to the Tour de France. In his preparation for the race he went to a number of one-day races. In the Keulen Classic he finished 2nd, in the Circuit Franco-Belgique he actually won the race, and in the Brussels Cycling Classic he finished 2nd, and he even went to his national championships where he unfortunately didn't come out with any jerseys. But at the Tour de France he came through the first few stages, and it was on stage 3 where magic happened, where he managed to avoid a crash before the 2-kilometer mark. Despite avoiding the crash, he was still detached from the rest of his sprint team as the peloton was hurtling towards the finishing line. Still, Biniam Girmay picked the right line and managed to squeeze past Mads Pedersen on the right hand side, and then the moment came he won this stage. Biniam Girmay of course went on to win not only just one more stage but 2 more stages and win the points classification as well, which was a truly remarkable feat. And after that, in the Burma Classic he finished 3rd, and in the GP Quebec he finished 2nd, and he finished the season off in the Chima Binchi, finishing 2nd there. So a great haul of points for Biniam Girmay, and his best haul of World Tour points to date. Next on the list is the 2-time Tour de France champion, and that is of course Jonas Vingegaard, who had a mixed year. A great start to the year where he dominated Au Grand Camino, where he won a number of stages and showcased his increased descending ability. He continued that form and dominance into his first World Tour race, the Tirreno Adriatico, where he completely swept the competition inside and won the overall. And the next race was the Tour of Basque Country, and here he began well on stage 1 in the time trial, but a bit down on his former teammate of Primož Roglič. And then came the infamous crash later in the race that took majority of the favourites out of the race. His participation for the Tour was of course in doubt, as he sustained a punctured lung and a broken collarbone, but the Dane managed to bounce back to be there on the start line, where he was up there early on in the mountain stages and even got a stage win in a nail-biting sprint finish with Tadej Pogačar, and ultimately ended the race second, which was pretty good considering the very bad misfortune and lack of preparation into the race. Vingegaard didn't go to the Vuelta a España, rather he returned to the Tour of Poland, a race he hadn't competed at since 2019 and almost won. And in the 2024 edition, the Dane was very dominant. Despite not taking a stage win, he still won the race by 13 seconds down to Diego Ulissi. 8th place is quite low, but of course it has cost him the time he spent out because of the Basque Country crash and the lack of one-day races as well, and not going to the Vuelta a España. So Visma Lease Bike as a team as well really dropped because of it. Now we go to UAE, and this is not Tadej Pogačar in number 7. This is of course Mark Hirschi, who will be changing out UAE team members for Tudor Pro Cycling, but more about that in our top 10 pro cycling transfers of 2025. But the UAE Team Emirates rider has definitely contributed a lot to the rankings of the team, having won 9 races in total. Early on, he won the Drôme Classic. He finished 3rd in Milano-Torino, 2nd in Amstel Gold, very close to Tom Pidcock, and even had some second place finishes on 2 stages, one in the Tour of Hungary and the other one in the Boucle de Mayenne. And then he went to the Czech Tour, where he was very supreme on stage 2 and managed to hold it all the way to the finish, winning overall. And at the San Sebastian Classic, he rode very strong, and in the finale he managed to outsprint Julien Philippe to take the victory. And after that, he also won 4 more races, which included the Britannia Classic, GP Industria, the Coppa Sabatini, and the memorial race of Marco Pantani, and even went on to win the GP Agostoni. So the Swiss man certainly was prolific when it came to the one-day races. Now we move our focus on to the first and only Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe rider of the list, and that is of course Primož Roglič, who had a very up and down year with his new team. Early on in Paris-Nice, it was a very lackluster performance by him, not being able to keep up with the top guys of the race, but he did bounce back at the Tour of the Basque Country, winning the opening time trial stage. Unfortunately, the bad luck continued as he was caught out in the infamous Basque Country crash and had to leave the race. He did, however, bounce back at the Criterium du Dauphiné, where he managed to win on stage 6 and stage 7 and held off the charging peloton to win the GC and the points classification by the end. At the Tour de France, he's up there with the top guys early on, finishing 4th on the first mountain stage, and it looked like a battle for the podium was set to happen, but unfortunately he crashed on stage 12, and that meant that he left the race the next day. But he did recover to go to the Vuelta a España, here very early on, winning on stage 4, then winning on stage 8 before giving the jersey away to Ben O'Connor, but reclaiming it on stage 19 after having won this stage and doing enough to win overall in Madrid and taking his 4th Vuelta a España title. His World Championships wasn't anything noteworthy. He did help one of his teammates win there, of course, but Primož Roglič, a very good recovery considering how the year was. Next, moving on to one of our favorite riders on the channel, and that is of course Remco Evenepoel, who had a fantastic year in 2024, starting off winning another World Cyclocross Championships, and of course we are not counting that on the World Tour ranking. He had an absolutely fantastic start to the year, where he did some heroics in Milan-San Remo for Jasper Philipsen to mark a rampant Tadej Pogačar. He managed to take an impressive win in the E3, riding away from everybody, and in Gent-Wevelgem just losing out to Mads Pedersen, but still finishing 2nd, before in Tour of Flanders he showed the true power of cyclocross, attacking on the wet Koppenberg, and he also had some great teamwork from his teammates to mark any potential dangerous moves before going to Paris-Roubaix, where he was simply a class of his own, riding away and nobody could follow him. And of course we bumped into him on the Recon ride, so check that video out as well if you haven't already. But Remco Evenepoel winning that cobblestone meant that he became the first rider since Fabian Cancellara to win the Tour of Flanders Paris-Roubaix double, and he also was the first rider to win that double as a world champion since 1962 when Rick Van Looy did just that. Nevertheless, Remco Evenepoel did go to the Tour de France, but here once again he was on lead-out duties for Jasper Philipsen, and they did very well, taking 3 stage wins. Unfortunately, at the Olympics once more, like in Tokyo, he missed that gold medal. Van der Poel did bounce back at the Tour of Luxembourg, where he was able to win a stage and lost out to Mads Pedersen once more on stage 2. And second on stage 3, 5th in the time trial, and 6th in the final stage as well, and that meant that he finished 2nd overall. At the World Championships, he had slimmed down for this race, but he was just not willing to go with Tadej Pogačar when he went with 100 kilometers to go, and the lack of coordination between the chasing riders limited their chances, and he ended up snatching a bronze medal as a consolation prize. Certainly a good year for the Alpecin superstar. Next on the list is a rider who's never featured inside the top 10 of a World Tour ranking, and that is of course Ben O'Connor, who had been struggling to getting the desired results for AG2R, but this year certainly did step it up a notch. Early on he managed to win the one-day race in Murcia before going to the UAE Tour, where he looked very good on the Jabal Hayes stage, winning the stage overall and coming very close to winning the overall, finishing 3rd and a few seconds off the eventual winner of the race. He thereafter went to Tirreno Adriatico, finishing 5th overall, riding very strong, and then at the Tour of the Alps, again coming very close to the victory, finishing 2nd overall to Juan Pedro Lopez. His first target was the Giro d'Italia, where he looked very strong in the beginning, trying to follow Tadej Pogačar as well on the Europa stage, but just couldn't keep up. But he recovered later on in the race and rode very strong in the final week to finish 4th overall. The next goal for him was the Vuelta a España, and here he was a bit under the radar, and on stage 6 he was in the breakaway and did a very powerful move to win the stage by 4 minutes and 33 seconds after being in the break for a long time, and finished with a solo 27.6 kilometer attack, taking the red jersey as well. And he managed to keep that red jersey all the way to stage 19, but still managed to finish 2nd in the GC and his highest finish in a Grand Tour. Thereafter he went to the Zurich World Championships, and here was part of a very strong mixed relay team, and they won the gold. And in the World Championships road race he was up there with the favorites and managed to take advantage of the lack of cooperation in the chasing group and galloped away to take a silver medal, the highest place he has been in the UCI rankings. Number 3 on the list is the fastest man on 2 wheels, arguably, and that is of course Jasper Philipsen. Jasper Philipsen had an incredible year once more, and this is in fact his highest finish in his career, points tallies wise. He started the year winning a stage in Tirreno Adriatico on stage 2, and then in the classics where he picked a lot of his points up, he managed to win Milano-San Remo, as we said earlier, win the classic Brun de Pan, defending his title from the year before, 4th in Gent-Wevelgem, 2nd in Scheldeprijs, and 2nd in Paris-Roubaix behind his teammate Remco Evenepoel. And in the Belgian Tour, he won a stage and had a number of top 3 finishes as well, winning the points classification there before the Tour de France, having plenty of success, but not until the 2nd week, having a few relegations and being caught up in crashes in the first week, but winning on stage 10 and winning into Po as well on stage 13, and his final stage came on stage 16, finishing 2nd in the points classification. And at the Renewy Tour he managed to win stage 4 and picking up the points classification, and then his final victory came in the Sparkassen Münsterland Giro one-day race, and he finished 3rd in Paris Tours as well. A number of one-day races, and that really attributed to his very high points tally as well. Before we come into the top 2, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel here, and why not check out the top 10 transfers of this year, as we've already alluded to. But with that out of the way, next on the list is the golden Remco Evenepoel, who had a very interesting year this year. Early on he was very strong, winning the Vuelta Algarve once more after winning the time trial stage and being up there in the hillier stages with Daniel Martinez, and he even won the Portuguese one-day race, the Figueroa Classic, before going to Paris-Nice, where he had some success, finishing 2nd overall and winning the final stage. And then the next step was the Tour of the Basque Country, where he of course was also one of the riders involved in that crash. Remco Evenepoel then went to the Criterium de Dauphiné, where he seemed like he had bounced back somewhat, taking the time trial stage and finishing inside the top 10 and losing the yellow jersey unfortunately. But he did go to the Tour de France, and here he looked very strong, taking a stage win, being up there for the majority of the time with the big favourites, and also finishing 3rd overall and winning the white jersey. Not bad for his first ever Tour de France appearance. He then went to the Olympics, and here he looked very strong, winning the wet Olympic time trial in an incredible manner, and then going on to do an absolutely incredible attack in the Olympic road race, taking that win and completing the double as well, something that had never been done before, and it was simply remarkable. He did go to the World Championships to try and do the double-double, and he did win the World Championship time trial, but he wasn't able to do anything really in the road race and was left frustrated with other riders choosing not to work with him. And at the Giro d'Emilia, he was left frustrated, but he did finish his year off with finishing second in Il Lombardia, which was a touching moment considering he almost lost his life at the same race. Remco Evenepoel, an absolute incredible haul of points, but we are excited to see what's going to come in the future. Now coming to number one, and it is of course the rider who's been dominating all aspects of 2024, and that is of course Tadej Pogačar, who isn't just in the top of the overall rider ranking, but also in the top of the overall one-day rider ranking as well. He celebrated his new World Championship jersey already with a win in the Giro d'Emilia, followed by his fourth Il Lombardia victory as well. The Slovenian superstar did also win both the Giro d'Italia and the Tour de France. Phenomenal riding by him, and that is not to forget about his imperious performance in Strade Bianche and his absolute domination in the Vuelta a Catalunya, plus his performances in the GP Montreal and even that imperious win at the World Championships, where Slovenia executed the perfect plan and he attacked with 100 kilometers to go, becoming the first rider since 1987 to win the Giro Tour and the World Championships, a feat that has only been replicated by Steven Roach and Eddie Merckx. That first victory as well in Giro d'Emilia was in the rainbow jersey and Il Lombardia, so far he has a 100% record in that rainbow jersey. Pogačar's season has been absolutely incredible. In total, he's raced 58 days, he's won 25 victories, finished top 3 32 times, and finished in the top 10 as well 35 times. And it really does show that you don't have to race completely. He has really specified his calendar, and of course Tadej Pogačar has also contributed to the incredible win total of UAE Team Emirates that have gotten very close to the all-time team record. So Pogačar and UAE have simply been in a league of their own this year, and we'll wait and see if you can top it next year. But if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, check out the video with Tadej Pogačar's Giro Tour double, and of course, as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.